Hello. Well, it's still winter, so this will be likely the first of at least 3 videos on this subject. We're starting with casual hats. Um, so that doesn't mean office casual hats for the most part. Um, I showed a bunch of these already in the cabin video, but I didn't talk about all of it in length very much. So the vest video, I talked about it a little bit also about trying to coordinate hats with, wardrobe, which, most of us do to a degree anyway. It's um, obviously it's a shift from, branded sportswear or something where you're showing off your, favorite team or, other licensed product. Obviously there's some, hats that, display rock band names or whatever, but typically hats in concerts aren't the same thing as hats in baseball games or hockey games where the hat trick is an actual thing. And usually if you're wearing a pretty expensive hat, you don't want to just throw it on the ice. Sometimes you even feel bad throwing the freebie on the ice because it's like, oh yeah, but no, I still got to buy a team hat. Depending on the quality of the hats that they gave you. So anyway, in the first video or the previous video or whatever, however you want to call it, I showed kind of a bunch of winter hats, and it was, typically stuff with kind of, ear flaps. This one has like rabbit fur and fake cotton. Yes, we're doing kind of a show and tell. I tend to gravitate toward hats with kind of this lower profile. They seem to work a little better on my head. Um, this one has like a bit of a fleece lining to it as well, DPC. And I don't know, I just find hats like this pretty inexpensive at random places, and I grab them. And then again, I showed the Stormy Cromer hat, which has much less impactful ear flaps. They're more for kind of show than warmth. That the story, also a fleece kind of lining. The story goes that he had these flaps more to keep the hat on his head, I guess, than to really be as warm. But he was a hardier soul than me, I think, because even something like this, the ear flaps aren't necessarily substantial enough if I was in actual really cold weather. So obviously you have the more traditional hunting stuff has heavier. This is synthetic, but originally would have been rabbit or whatever pelt. So again, almost the exact same cut of the thing though, with this kind of long, wide front as opposed to more of a typical baseball cap style. And here's like a similar cotton thing that I think I view this as kind of an outdoorsy hat that could also be maybe in that pilot category. A little bit longer brim than a typical baseball cap by a tiny bit. Obviously, in the one video called Headwear, I'm not wearing a hat because I'm having a good hair day. So yeah, don't care. I have plenty of time to wear hats when I'm outdoors. I don't usually wear them so much when I'm indoors because, hey, that's a convention. And, if it's not sunny, you don't really need a hat. Should you wear a hat at night? I guess it kind of depends on the situation and the hat. Again, we're dealing with strictly casual hats. So here we're going to be in, dealing in more informal settings, or, if you're camping or something, you might keep your hat on at night for warmth. You might take along a beanie instead, so you can swap out to a more of a watch cap. So transitioning, we're staying kind of on the outdoorsy subject and jumping around a little bit. So outdoorsy hats. You have something like this that almost looks like a dress hat, but it's more of a canvas with a shorter brim and a robust kind of vibe to it. And I don't know, just kind of a generic no-name on the tag there. Again, another kind of thing I pick up at random that more of a summer hat ish. So, you know, I'll talk more about this style at length in some other day. But similarly, obviously, then we have one of many, many cowboy styles. But now here, in a hat that would be more similar to this, if you had this stiff, thin brim, you're going to have a much more dress look, a much more office casual, appropriate hat. Some cowboy hats like this can be considered office casual if you're wearing, or office formal-ish if you're wearing like a Western suit, a true cowboy, you know, look with the string tie and all that. You can get away with, although I think the cattleman crown is a little more popular than the pinch front. But it'd be the exact same, you know, we're talking about a felt hat or possibly a straw hat if it's a nice straw hat, but definitely not, you know, a floppy loose brim. Whereas this, on the other hand, you know, kind of the not quite indie hat. People see this and they still consider it a cowboy hat, even though it's also technically just a casual fedora. You know, it's got a little bit more of a cowboy band on it. That's basically the only difference. But it has a crush brim. And so obviously this isn't going to look as dressy. But you could still get away with a slightly nicer version of this for office casual, which of course is the branded indie hat kind of model with the grosgrain ribbon instead of, you know, some kind of leather trinket. And the feather I added didn't come with it, but some of them do come with a feather, which you'll probably lose. Such is life. Obviously, these kind of inexpensive fedoras come in different colors and you can mix and match. Again, if you're trying to, you know, if I was wearing a gray shirt, I would probably not wear a brown or tan hat. But usually if I'm wearing a shirt, you know, of a flannel nature, obviously I'm going for more of a baseball cap style or a flat cap. I don't always like flat caps, even though I like the look of them because they just don't have the brim. So my solution, well, okay, in case you don't know what flat caps are, we'll go there first. So a flat cap or a driving cap, this, you know, one has a little bit more of a texture. That's why I grabbed it instead of the herringbone one. And this, a Woolrich one with a nice flannel lining. This one had ear flaps actually, and I removed them because I thought they just didn't look quite right, and never looked back because I kind of regret it. I kind of wish I had one or two. I think I have one that still has the ear flaps. They're not, again, quite gonna do the total trick, but better than nothing kind of thing. But for the overall look, not really, you know, not a great flat cap look. A similar style to that, of course, is the Newsboy, which has, you know, a lot more articulation and, you know, decor ornamentation, a little bit longer of a brim. So I like this if I'm going to have a little bit more sun in my face than a standard flat cap. And then, of course, there's the cheap one that I was wearing in the other video. Now, though, when it comes to warmer weather, then I want less insulation in here. This one just has a little bit of cloth canvas fabric, so it's not, you know, too overly sweaty, whereas this other one that, you know, I've been showing in a lot of my videos has the quilted interior. So once March rolls around, all these Mucros ones that I, you know, got to coordinate with kilts and stuff pretty much have to go in the box in the closet and see you again in November, maybe, you know. See, I did those. So my other go-to, obviously, that I was wearing in the other video is, you know, more of like a fake tweed kind of thing. And that works pretty well for many situations. You've seen this one in some of the videos, perhaps much lighter weight, not as maybe highest quality as a couple of these other ones, but then better for warmer weather, which again, come March, you know, I won't be wearing so many of these. And then of course this one, even a nicer quality one that I wore plenty. I have this in a couple different colors. And again, it's just a baseball cap, so it's never going to look dressy enough, but it has a bill and it's not branded, so I'm not, screaming my sports team. So I could almost get away with it for office casual if I was wearing it, to the office but not in the office kind of thing. But I wouldn't wear them if well, depending on the quality. Two of them I would, and two of them I wouldn't wear if I was doing outdoor work or warehouse work or something. I mean, this one is, eh, I can do yard work in this and sweating it and not care. Whereas this one I'd want to keep a little nicer. Uh, Obviously, then of course you have, old reliable. You can find this one's a lighter weight, this one's a heavier weight. Just think of these ones army green. Back in whenever the day there was kind of two army styles. The ball cap and then the cadet cap keeps kind of coming and going in and out of fashion. Again, these kind of got adopted by guys who didn't want to just wear baseball caps, so they were kind of the rage 10 or 12 years ago, I think, and then they kind of started falling back out of fashion. Maybe I'm dating myself and it was actually longer ago and I'm just leaving off 5 years on accident. But again, this one's just a ripstop one that I don't know, found at the surplus store or something, and this one's a Duluth. I don't know if they're going to make these again or not. I got black because it was the closest color to match with gray. So once you wear it enough and it fades out, it should look okay without being army green if you're not trying to do army green. But I don't usually like to wear black hats in the sun because like that defeats kind of the purpose of keeping the sun off your head. So gray, not black. Still, a thing, but not a total thing. And I guess that's about all my hats that I brought for the show and tell.